He has spent the last 20 years seeking answers about the disappearance of Allison Romedy.
Today marks 2 decades, 20 years since her disappearance in Rincon. WTOC digital anchor Jake Wallace joining us from Rincon, where the family is trying to keep her cold case alive. Jake?
That's right. Allison Romedy was last seen on this day 20 years ago today, and with no answer yet in her disappearance, the family's doing anything and everything they can to keep her on the minds of people here in Rincon. Right now, you can see several family members holding signs here on Highway 21 as people make their way home on this Monday evening. Now, as her family fights to keep up hope for answers in this case, Rincon police say they haven't forgotten Allison. For the last 2 decades, this poster is hung in the lobby of the Rincon Police Department. On it, a picture of Allison Romedy, the woman police have been searching to find and her family dearly misses.
I cherish this picture.
Inside Jennifer Lunsford's home, there are more pictures of Allison, ones that remind Jennifer of happier memories of her older sister.
And I told her to let me take a picture.
Yeah.
And that she did that when I went to take the picture. And that's just, I remember that moment. That's just who she was.
Allison Romedy was last seen the night of February 28, 2002, when she tucked her then 10-year-old daughter into bed. The next morning, she was gone. She didn't show up for work that day. When Romedy didn't turn up that evening, the family called police. Rincon police filed this report on March 1, 2002. In it, police note Romedy hadn't taken her cell phone and nothing appeared to be missing. It continues that Romedy had multiple sclerosis and her medication was still at the apartment. Lunsford says there were many reasons she and the family felt something was wrong, but more than anything, it was Romedy's daughter, who was in elementary school at the time.
She would never have left her alone there.
The police report also notes Romedy's car was not at her apartment. Allison Romedy was last seen on February 28th here at her apartment at Weisenbaker Place Apartments on Weisenbaker Road. The family says they spent the next 2 days canvassing every inch of Rincon, checking parking lots everywhere they could for any shred of evidence of Allison's whereabouts. 3 days later, on March 3rd, Romedy's car turned up here at Fair Oaks Lane Apartments on Lisa Drive. That is just a mile away from Allison's home and a place the family says they checked to no avail just a day earlier. 20 years later, there are still no answers in a search that has left a family frustrated. They now believe the answers they so desperately seek will never come.
I have prayed so many times over the years, literally on my face, and I feel like if the Lord meant for us to have those answers, we'd have had them by now.
Rincon Police Detective Lee Chadwick hasn't given up hope.
I want to be able to go to them and say, you know, not only do we know what happened, but my deepest hope is we recover Allison and return her to her family.
A veteran of a Metro Atlanta police force, Chadwick joined RPD 2 years ago and took over the Romedy cold case. He says new information has been presented that he believes has the Rincon Police Department closer to the answer than ever before.
It shows me that the path I was looking at to begin with is the correct path that I need to be looking at. We do have someone that we want to talk to, and we have some, I won't call them witnesses, but we have some people that came forward and gave some vital information that we think is going to be extremely helpful.
You believe you're on the correct path, that you're close to solving this case?
I know I'm on the right path. I know it.
That's her in the middle.
Even with that, the family says they aren't getting their hopes up. Lunsford says after 2 decades, it's hard to believe an answer is coming. But they still want to know what happened to Allison. Lunsford says her anger towards the person or people responsible has faded. All she wants now is to know where her sister is.
Make an anonymous call, make an anonymous tip, send in an anonymous letter, put it on a postcard. I don't care. Write it in the dirt somewhere. Just tell somebody where she's at. Give us that closure.
That closure is what Detective Chadwick and Rincon Police continue to chase, and he doesn't believe it will take another 20 years to get it.
There's no time limit on this. Eventually, it always comes to pass. something's going to happen. That's where we're at this moment. Something has happened, and you need to know it comes out in the end, and we're going to get it.
And you see here now back on Highway 21, Jennifer Lunsford, who you heard from in that piece, Allison Romity's sister. Another reason she is fighting for answers in her sister's disappearance, her own health. Jennifer tells me she received a terminal diagnosis with a 3 to 5 year average lifespan. She'll be hitting the 3-year mark later this summer. If you have any information in the Allison Romity case, you're asked to call Rincon Police. That number is 912-826-5200. Live in Rincon, I'm Jake Wallace, WTOC News.
And all those details, including that phone number that Jake just gave, are posted right now on WTOC.com. Just look for that story on our homepage.